Shocking footage from Europa. A brazen attack by the Outer Way terrorist group, led by the notorious Dani Nakamura.
That's enough. I got a job.
Dani Nakamura is one of the most mysterious and untrusting people that Jacob Lee will encounter during the events of the game The Callisto Protocol. The only known survivor of the tragedy on Europa, Dani's life would be completely shattered when her younger sister would be killed in the chaos. This death leading her on a quest for vengeance and answers, a search that would lead her to join an infamous rebel group known as the Outer Way, eventually bringing her into conflict with Jacob himself and bringing her to Black Iron Prison.
Let go of me!
Her! She's the one who... Hey!
Cool your jets, cargo jockey. You do your job. You let me do mine, alright?
Sir.
The story of Dani Nakamura as we know it begins on one of Jupiter's colonized moons, Europa. While we don't have a great many details about her early life, we do know that she had a sister named Lily, and together, perhaps with their parents, they would forge a life for themselves that was presumably typical for their situation. Europa was under the control of the United Jupiter Company, or UJC for short, and was one of the most important for the organization as it housed their premier research laboratory. Here, they would dig deep into the secrets of Jupiter's many moons. However, a discovery of particular interest would be found on Callisto sometime in the 2200s. An alien life form living near a subsurface ocean of the moon would be unleashed by unwitting miners terraforming the area. Security personnel would manage to dispatch the beast, but its larvae survived, some of which would be encased by eager elites and sent off to Europa in the hopes of understanding what would be dubbed as the biophage. Of course, the truth of what exactly was being studied within the halls of the UJC's facilities was a closely guarded secret, the people of Europa living their lives unaware of the horrors being uncovered just next door, until one day, those horrors would show up at their doorstep.
Lily! No.
A diluted test sample from the facility would manage to escape and absolutely decimate the population of Europa, a sickness ripping through them as the streets lined with corpses and panicked cries became breathless buildings. For Dani, she would manage to somehow avoid infection, but the rest of the city wasn't so lucky, her younger sister joining the countless casualties as the life she'd built in her 20 years was taken away in an instant. However, instead of answers for how this tragedy could have happened, Dani herself would receive blame for its occurrence. Unwilling to take accountability for their misdeeds, the UJC would instead doctor footage of the event to portray the lone survivor as the perpetrator of the heinous action, lumping her in with the Outer Way, a rebel faction that would use terroristic tactics to attack the UJC and their inhumane practices. Confused, distraught, and now a fugitive from the law, Dani would decide that, above all, she wanted answers. This quest leading her into the company of the people she'd already been accused of associating with, welcomed with open arms by those who were already wary of the UJC's lies. With the Outer Way's help, she would track a small group of UJC operatives and interrogate them for logs of all the traffic that had been coming and going from Europa, specifically surrounding the research center. These documents leading her to a ship known as the Charon, and eventually to the prison moon of Callisto. Dani Nakamura is one of the most unfortunate women that can be found wandering the deadly halls of this chaotic prison. A former hapless civilian turned ruthless rebel, Dani would find herself in a conflict that had been laid at her feet. The UJC's careless experiments had uprooted her life and destroyed her family, labeling her as a bioterrorist to cover up their own mistakes. Beginning a war with this determined woman who would brave the hardships of Black Iron and eventually find exactly what she was looking for.
In the chaos of the moment, I didn't realize he had also given me the evidence I was looking for all along, and sacrificed his life so that I could expose the truth. Was he trying to make up for the pain he caused, or just chasing some kind of redemption? Either way, I hope he found some peace.